Be honest, you were worried the Blackhawks would show up and beat the Leafs. After that game, I'd be more worried if any of the Blackhawks showed up and stayed.
Let's go!
Give me what I want!
Kick down the door!
Drew, you are not doing this!
Not nice!
There's a giant head!
You hear yourself?
I made like 2,000 of these. I'd like to have fun. With you, wherever you are, welcome to LFR. Victory Puppy Ziggy! How many of those Blackhawks players do you think are trying to stay in Toronto? They won a game that they should have! It ruled! Didn't it rule? That ruled. Leafs win! 5-2 over the Chicago Blackhawks! It is a double Super Bowl week. First there was the actual Super Bowl, then there was the Leafs beating a bottom 5 team in the NHL, which is my Super Bowl. And Austin Matthews is back. We like that. So let's have a nice chill time and talk about it. But first, think you know which way it's gonna go? Like when the Leafs, a top 5 team with rest, take on the Chicago Blackhawks, a bottom 5 team with no rest. All normal people like, I know which way it's gonna go, and Leaf fans like me too. Well, you can make your bet at Sports Interaction. The Puck Drop Sports Interaction has you covered pregame, live betting on all major sports, and prop bets. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. And download the Sports Interaction app, but only if you're 19 plus. Please play responsibly. There was a quote here from Sheldon Keefe that seemingly says nothing, but I actually think it says a lot. So we gotta fast forward to after the game. So the Leafs have already won at this point. Sheldon Keefe said, "It's not a game we're gonna evaluate a lot on. Anything good, anything bad." First of all, it's kind of a funny quote. It made me laugh anyway. Number 2, I think he's right and wrong at the same time. Like, I agree, you beat the Chicago Blackhawks at home, you had rest, they didn't. You shouldn't evaluate this game too much because you should have won. So it's not a big deal. But we think that because they won. Like, dude, the Leafs had a 3-1 lead, the Blackhawks made it 3-2 less than a minute into the second. If the Blackhawks tie that up and this game is tight and it goes to overtime, yeah, I think we might be looking at it a little differently. But they won. It's great. The parts that weren't that great, we're not going to worry about too much. But the other thing that I think says a lot is heading into this game, Justin Hall, not in the lineup, and a lot of people are reading into that. We're going to read into that even more now that Connor Timmins scored in the game, his second of the season, which ties Hall, by the way. And he didn't pass Justin Hall in points on the season because he already had more points than Justin Hall on the season. This could be the Leafs getting Timmins into the lineup because they're trying to see if he's legitimately one of their top 6 defensemen. Funny, because this seemed to happen last year around this time when the Leafs were evaluating their playoff lineup. Maybe we don't want this guy. Remember, Liljegren was in, Liljegren's out, Hall is in, Hall is out. Liljegren has clearly leapfrogged him in my eyes, and I think a lot of fans' eyes. At very least, if Liljegren was a healthy scratch, I think a lot of us would freak out, justifiably so. And Hall didn't have the strongest game in the last game against Columbus, but that was on Sunday. This is Wednesday. Sheldon Keefe just said we're not going to analyze too much about this, the good or the bad. Was this just an opportunity to rest one of their guys? And the Leafs took it. They got a back-to-back coming up this weekend, Montreal on Saturday and Chicago on Sunday, and I'm interested to see what the Leafs do with that. I mean, heck, if there's not much between the two, why not rest one night and rest one the other? So I know a lot of people like, oh, Timmins, he's leapfrogged Justin Hall. Based on what Keefe said, I'm not sure he has. But forget all that. The Leafs scored 9 seconds into the game. Matthews returns. Big face-off that was sort of scrambled. TJ Brody has the puck. D pass at a medium speed, normal speed. Then it's Morgan Riley with a dart up the middle to William Nylander, who always seems to do this to the Blackhawks. Jake McCabe fell down, which I choose not to see. Then Nylander on a partial break tucks it between the skate and the post of Peter Mrazek, ruining his 50-save shutout bid nice and early. Admit it, you were thinking it. I was thinking it. And the Leafs are up 1-0. We're on easy street. The Leafs are fine. They don't need to go out and get anybody. Why would they need to go out and get anybody? Look how good Yarncroke's been. Before Yarncroke immediately gives it straight to Sam Lafferty, which might be ironic in a couple of weeks. And then, as Lafferty scores on Ilya Samsonov, runs Samsonov over. Might not be the last time Sam Lafferty scores in this building this season, even though the Blackhawks are done playing in this building. And oh god, what if he gets traded to Tampa? Why would you say that? What if he gets traded? I meant the Leafs when I started saying it. Panic, don't panic, it's still February. Okay, anyway, it's 1-1 and we don't like that. But then the Leafs take over. Tavares gets it to Sandin. Sandin throws it in front. Connor Murphy tips it in past Mrazek himself. Within the first 8 minutes and 18 seconds, they allow a goal 9 seconds in, and they score on their own net. This might be a Dangle's record. Leafs are up 2-1. The goal horn has barely stopped playing. Mitch Marner dangles the pants and jock off of the entire Blackhawks roster. All Kerfoot has to do is stand there and bury it, which he does. 3-1. See? Kerfoot belongs on that line. He belongs on that top six. They call the goal back because Kerfoot was offside. Okay, fine. Well, very shortly after, William Nylander finds Austin Matthews in good position, which is anywhere on the ice because he's Austin Matthews snipe. His 26th of the season, and $2 Steve is very upset he didn't bet on Matthews to score because Matthews, he tends to always score, but he definitely tends to always score in return games. I hate that he's had so many return games because he's been injured several times over the course of his NHL career, but whenever this guy comes back, he seems to score. And at this point, I'm thinking Mrazek is going to get pulled because the Leafs have 3 goals on 9 shots, and if you count the one that didn't count, he allowed 4 goals on 10 shots. But the Blackhawks played yesterday, and they're not trying to win anyway, which, by the way, what's with the offside review then? Leafs dominate the first period. They outshoot the Blackhawks 18-14, maybe allow too much, but they were still the better team, up 3-1 after 1. First minute of the second, this is the only thing I sort of wanted to point out because I didn't love what the Leafs top line did here. And also, it highlights a nice play from Jake McCabe, who could be a Leaf in the next couple weeks. After all, I pointed out that he fell down on the first goal. I might as well point this out. Against the same line, by the way. Bunting coming up the middle. He's got Nylander on his right, and he's actually got Riley on his left. And Riley might have been on his blind spot, so maybe he didn't notice. But the Leafs, they have a 3-on-2 here. At very least, a partial 3-on-2. Bunting passes it to Nylander, and just the way Nylander receives it, he either wasn't totally expecting to get the pass, or even if he was, it just wasn't the right pass to make because Jake McCabe is in great position. He's right there to stop the puck and Nylander in their tracks. Riley up the left, or heck, even carrying it himself for a little bit, might have gotten the Leafs into better position, but instead, McCabe works it back up the other way. Philip Kurashev shoots and scores, which I think is really weird because Philip Kurashev is a good young player, and that's exactly the sort of guy the Blackhawks give away for draft picks, who could turn out to be good young players. Dude, the Blackhawks better pray they get Connor Bedard, because right now the Blackhawks are the living embodiment of the Family Guy scene where they say a boat's a boat, but the mystery box can be anything. It could even be a boat. So okay, we're feeling a little uncomfortable. This could be a repeat of the Ducks game from earlier in the season, which is scarred into all sorts of different parts of my brain. Leafs have a 3-1 lead. They cough it up. They end up losing in overtime. Well, the Blackhawks were within 1 of the Leafs, within 1 shot of the Leafs for almost 6 minutes before Peter Mrazek did exactly what the Blackhawks got him for. Dude, when that trade happened, people were like, Dubas is a genius. Because the Leafs were able to trade Peter Mrazek $3.5 million against the cap this year and next for just moving down 13 spots in the draft. They go from 25 to 38. That's all it costs to get all that cap off your books. Yes, the signing wasn't great, but that's what you get off the books. It's worth it. Well, I hate to break it to you, Kyle Dubas wasn't even the smartest Kyle in that trade. I mean, both Kyles got what they wanted. Dubas wanted cap space. He got it. Davidson wanted his best shot at Connor Bedard, and he got it. The puck is flying around the end boards in the Blackhawks end, and Mrazek leaves his net to play the puck. Now, I know I'm the if you're a goaltender, 10 the goal guy, but that is pretty routine. You know what is not routine, however, is trying to play it with your glove! The puck hops on him or something, and this is the moment. Do you want to see it? Here's the moment. Oh, fiddlesticks! Or however you say that in Czechia. How do you say that in Czechia? Kerfoot gets it to Tavares. That one's not offside. And at that moment, we're done. It's over. There's the Blackhawks' third dang it, arguably, of the game. The SDPN Twitter account knows what's up. Plugs ears. Okay, say it. If you're a goaltender, 10 the goal! And then they said, attaboy. Thank you. Thank you for that. It's a 4-2 Leafs lead, and low-key, even though the Leafs began the period on the wrong foot, they're caving Chicago in. Before the end of the second, yes, Matthews can snipe it, but can he pass it? Yes, finds Connor Timmins in a great spot. Great shot, a bomb for his second of the season. 5-2. Leafs outshoot the Blackhawks 13-7 in the second. You should be able to have a nice, relaxing third. And they do. Other than a couple penalty kills. Connor Timmins, how dare you? Pontus Holmberg, how dare you? The Leafs outshoot the Blackhawks in a period where the Blackhawks were losing the whole time, and that's the game. Did you notice how I haven't mentioned Patrick Kane at all? He had one play with like a little burst of speed, and everyone went, oh, like you heard the volume in the building go up, and Liljegren just sort of guided him into the corner. Just that's it. Give me that, Patrick. Thank you. McCabe had a not so great play, and a pretty darn great play. Sam Lafferty scored a goal. Colin Blackwell, I miss you, buddy, but he had his pockets absolutely ran by Nylander. That was a great play. Nylander and Matthews, if they play like that in the playoffs, on the same line. Like, the Leafs are low-key one of the best stick-checking teams in the entire league. Who's better? Who's better? It's not a big list. And other than that, who else on the Blackhawks has really been linked to the Leafs? Like, there are a few other guys in trade rumors. Connor Murphy scored on his own net. That wasn't great. And this is worth mentioning. The Blackhawks know what's going on. Patrick Kane was not made available to the media after the game. Yeah, if I'm the Blackhawks, that's going to be a theme for the next little while. It's one thing when he said he was disappointed he didn't go to the Rangers. The Blackhawks, I don't think, got too mad about that because they know fans aren't stupid. They know he's a pending UFA. There's a minor chance he'll stay, but he wants to go to a contender, and he really wanted to go to New York. It's the worst kept secret ever. I don't think they were upset about that. What I don't think they liked this past week was him talking about Kirby Dach, and he's a good young player, and he's playing on the fourth line, and maybe the Blackhawks didn't handle his development properly. I don't think the Blackhawks have a problem with his honesty in terms of where he wants to go in the trade market. I'm sure they wanted to trade him to the Rangers as well. But when you start criticizing the way the organization does things, like with Kirby Dach, that's tough. And now you're in Toronto. And if you're the Chicago Blackhawks, especially anyone working on their media team, you're like, do I want this headache or do I want to go to my hotel and scratch off the next day on the calendar that leads me ever closer to March 4th. Steve, the trade deadline is March 3rd. Yes, no, they're looking forward to the day after. Questions. Holding Hall out pending a trade? Yeah, it's an interesting thought. Maybe the Leafs are holding Hall out for a trade. Who knows? Maybe he'll be traded by the time this video is posted and all look silly. I don't think so. Like, honestly, like, I criticized Justin Hall last video. I said I don't want him in the Leafs game 1 lineup. But that doesn't mean I think he's bad and I want him traded. I think he's a decent enough player who had a really bad game the other day, but by and large, he's been fine. If he ends up being your 6, I handle that begrudgingly, but it's okay, fine. If he's your 7, man, you got a deep team if that's your 7. Yeah, he makes $2 million and that's maybe too much for that position and you could go out and spend something. I get that. I just don't think Justin Hall getting traded makes much sense for the Leafs. And I think holding him out for a trade, no. I don't think that's what they're doing. I think they're just trying to get Timmins into the lineup because he deserves it. Calle Jarnkrok on the first line? No, and I like him, but that just sounds wrong, doesn't it? Like, come on. He looked fine on the penalty kill. I think it's a little strange that he is on the third line on the right wing, where he hasn't really had success with the Leafs, and he made a mistake almost immediately. That's a problem. It's funny, it seems like we all agree that the Leafs need to go out and get the best left winger available. Like, let's even say they go out and they get Timo Meier. What do you do with the other guys? That's what's confusing to me. Like, okay, Meier on the top line. Let's say that's a foregone conclusion. So you have Meier, Matthews, Nylander. LMAO. That's hilarious. So then your second line is you just push down Bunting, then it's Bunting, Tavares, Marner? That's kind of interesting. I talked myself into it, but then what do you do with Jarnkrok? You can put him on the third line, but then he's on the right wing, and do we want him on the right wing? So, okay, you put Jarnkrok up with his usual line mates of Tavares and Marner. Okay. But then what do you do with Bunting? I don't know if you're really going to put him on the third line because your third line is your matchup line and Keefe doesn't really like him in matchup situations. And I mean, you're not taking him from your first line and putting him on your fourth line, are you? I don't know if that makes sense. I don't think that's the best way to use Bunting. I don't know what the answer is here, but I'm fairly certain the answer is not Yarncroke on the top line. I'm willing to look at it until they get the new guy, whoever that happens to just go get Timo Meier, man. Anyway, the Leafs, the weird schedule, but they got a back-to-back this weekend, so you're going to miss me, and then you're going to see so much of me. So for now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Brand new Steve Dangle podcast up on the SDPN channel. Geez, a lot of stuff up on the SDPN channel. I should learn how to say that. You should go check it out.